Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hello, all you marvelous moms out there. Welcome to today's fabulous episode. I'm talking with Kim Stoddard of The Small Seed. She's actually not just of The Small Seed. She's very, very busy. She is a mommy. She lives in Idaho with her husband. She is a farmer's wife, and she's co-creator of Lulu Kids Books. So welcome, Kim, to the podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much. Super excited to be chatting this morning.
I know. I'm glad you're able to squeeze it in.
This gets my blood pumping. I just love it.
So, yes, you're a busy girl, but tell me how many kids you have, how old they are, what's going on in your day-to-day.
Yes, I have three wonderful kids. I have a girl who is 8. I have a little boy who is 6, and then I have a little girl who is 3, and I'm actually expecting. I'm 24 weeks pregnant as of today.
Yay!
So, yeah.
I didn't even know that. I'm very bad. I'm on social media, but I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on there for work, but I don't know. People probably think I'm mean. I never comment.
No. Oh, honestly, I am so awkward with the pregnancy pictures that I don't know that I've even posted one because I just can never have a normal here's my belly picture. So I don't know if you would have even known if you had known on Instagram. So
yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, congratulations, though. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
It's a girl. It's
Yay.
Another girl.
Oh, how
yes.
fun. That's
we
awesome.
We're super excited. I don't know if you want me to dive into this part, but pregnancy has been really challenging for me. My body just doesn't do well with pregnancies, and so this was kind of a little miracle, and we're super grateful that things are going well thus far, and so we'll just keep plugging along here. But yeah.
Well, good for you. I know pregnancies aren't super hard for me, but I seem to always get a weird thing, like preeclampsia or gestational diabetes. And I'm like, should I just stop while I'm ahead? I'm just so afraid of doing it again. So that's good to hear. You still got to go. If you feel like it's supposed to happen, you still got to do it. So good for you. I'm glad that it's going well for you. That's great. So
thank you.
Let's talk about the farmer's wife thing. I was super intrigued when I saw that because I know you from high school and I never would have pegged you as a farmer's wife.
I would have never pegged myself as a farmer's wife. Yeah. So Jason and I met at BYU, and he was going to law school, and he did. He did really well in law school, and so we were trying to pick where we wanted to live, and we had been far away from family for all of law school. I really wanted to kind of get back home, closer to my family. And so we were trying to decide between Salt Lake and Las Vegas, and I'm such a sunshine girl.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like, oh, Vegas all the way. And so we moved to Las Vegas, and Jason loved the people that he worked with. But I feel like, and it's so funny now that I'm in a farmer's community, once those boys get farming in their blood, it's really hard to shake that out. And so every time harvest would come around, he would just be itching to get in a tractor, and it was just so funny. And he was just working a ton. He did corporate litigation, and he was all over the place all the time. And he grew up in a family where his dad was really accessible. If he was at work, he could go jump in the tractor with him or go out in the fields, or, he was just always available. And Jason really struggled not having that same lifestyle as our kids were growing up. And so we decided, we've got to make a change. And it was kind of getting to the point where he needed to move up in the firm, which was taking a lot more responsibilities. And we just thought we got to make a change. And so the option was, maybe we were looking for a smaller firm so we could have better hours. But then the farm expanded as such, and it's really, it's funny because when you say, we live on a farm, I think a lot of people don't have farming experience, and so in their minds it's kind of like this little house on the prairie type
That's what I
thing.
picture.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of acres, and so it just is growing, and it's his grandpa started the farm, and it's just really growing, and they needed, we had the opportunity to go back, and we took it, and I was super nervous
I
because
bet.
I mean, I think our population in Grace is like 1,000 or something.
Oh
Like,
my
it's
gosh.
I went from like the city of lights to like literally not even a stop light in, like, in our town. And so,
That's
and
awesome.
from the sunshine to like freezing cold.
Yes. Oh.
So it was an adjustment, but honestly, like, country life just suits me to a T. I love it, and we talk so often about the blessings that have come from, and all the stars really aligned. Like,
Yeah.
we knew that that was where we were supposed to be. Both of our hearts were just totally invested. Like, we just, Heavenly Father made the path so clear that we, even as silly and numbskull as we are, like, it was like, yep, that's the way we need to go. So
That's
so
awesome. That's lucky. I mean,
yeah.
really, it's nice when it's laid out that easily, because those choices that's a huge decision, leaving, the corporate world that you've put all this education and time into, and then totally just going back to your roots, literally.
Mm-hmm. It
That's
was.
great.
And knowing that, I mean, he still obviously he took the Idaho bar and
Yeah.
still uses his degree in,
That's good. I was going to ask that. That's cool.
yeah, he definitely does, but he also gets to ride the tractors and be involved in harvest and planting. And so he really kind of has the best of both worlds. So I'm super grateful for him and all of his hard work, because we were like, if we move, there's really no turning back, because I don't know, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to find a job when, we worked in corporate litigation and then we were farmers, but we want to come back to law. So anyways, it was a little bit of a scary decision, but one that was very clear that the Lord wanted us in Grace, and we're so grateful to be there. So
That's amazing. Really cool. I'm so excited and happy for you guys. That sounds like you're living the dream life. Really, like when you can
I don't
do
know
what
about
you
that,
love. But it makes a huge difference when your husband loves what he does,
Yes.
because then he's gonna love his life, and he's gonna, everything just is so much better that way. It's the only way to go. It's so hard the opposite way. I'm glad you guys figured it out early in the game instead of like 20 years from now. So good job.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been a blessing for sure.
Awesome. You know what I love? I just made this connection, and this is so nerdy of me, but I love that you are on the small seed team, and that you're a farmer's wife. And I know it's not the down home on the prairie type of thing that everybody pictures, but still, it's a really cute connection. And so tell me how you got in with the small seed, how you started working with them, and what you do over there.
No, there is such a strong connection with that, because, with the small seed, there's a time of planting, there's a time of harvest, there's a time, I mean, the seasons of life have played out so eminently as being part of the small seed, because sometimes I'm super invested, and then sometimes I kind of sit back and watch it grow, and then sometimes, it's like, so let me just go back to the actual question. I got involved, our dear friend, both of us love Lizzie Henderson / Jensen, good friends in high school, good friends in college, and we just have always kept in touch. She's just marvelous, and one of those friends that, you could not talk to for months, and then you get on the phone and it's just that instant connection, and one of those people that you can just be completely yourself and share your deepest sorrows and your greatest joys, and you just, you get it. Mm-hmm. So she had started it with her twins, as kind of a place to share her faith, but also to share the story of her twins. And hopefully you'll get to have her on here and she can share more about that. But
yeah.
So meanwhile, it was growing, and she had added 2 team members, and we kept talking, and she's like, gosh, we both felt like I really wanted to be a part of it, but I wasn't sure where my place was. I didn't feel super strong as a writer. I'm not a designer. Like I just didn't feel like I had any skills to offer to be on the team. And so we struggled. I personally struggled with that a little bit. Lizzie was just like, jump on. And I'm just like, I don't know if I am qualified, really.
Yeah.
But as I prayed about it and as we thought about it and chatted about it more, one of and it's always hard to say one of my gifts or one of my talents, but I really think we got to own them, like
Yeah.
it's so important. But one of mine is just people. And so I kind of took over PR and collaborations and reaching out and stories of faith, finding people, and just interacting with our community on a more personal level. And I just love it. I love it.
That's great.
It's absolutely somewhere that I go for peace and comfort. And the whole Small Seed, this is just something that we all do because we love our Father in heaven and we love people and we want to share that. And so we believe in God, and we feel like it's not as comfortable to talk about that anymore on social media and in life in general. And we just wanted to create an avenue where it is so natural.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And it's been 2 years.
Oh, cool. That's amazing.
And yeah, so it's we actually just barely launched our Choose to Love Yourself campaign, which it's just so good,
I know, I get chills. I got chills even just hearing you say it. I'm like, oh, I just love it so much. So tell us about it for people who have not heard about it yet.
So you've got to get on the Small Seed, and it's a campaign that the whole team, we chatted about. Each of us individually have felt very passionate about women need to see themselves the way that God sees them. And so many of our insecurities and our struggles would just melt away if we could just feel the love that He has for us and for those around us. And this is just an effort to help facilitate that. It's 18 days, and there's different challenges, and there's beautiful artwork, and there's going to be incredible posts, lots of wonderful women involved. And this kind of what the Small Seed is all about. We like to take these principles and make them real and make them something that you can use daily, that's incorporated into your life and the life of your families and the life of those around you, because we have to do that, to see the change within ourselves. So all the time, we're always coming up with these new collaborations and
I love it.
And so yeah, it's good stuff.
That totally resonates with my listeners too, and what we're doing on Marvelous Moms, because the whole reason I started it, one of the main reasons I started it, was because there isn't enough. And I love that you said that you had to own your talent and you had to realize your talent, because so many of us, we live in a comparison age and we're looking at everyone else. And how many moms I ask to be on here and they say, what? I'm just ordinary. I have nothing to offer. And I'm like, oh, if you could only see the way I see you, let alone how God sees you. Because seriously, I mean, if we realized our full potential, we wouldn't waste time complaining about anything, and we wouldn't be hard on ourselves, because We have so many amazing, marvelous things about us. So I really love that you guys have started this campaign, and I'm going to share that. This episode's going to be airing Friday, so tomorrow. We're recording this today, but it's going to be on tomorrow because I wanted to get it out there so everybody can be on it sooner than later and start doing the challenges and everything. And something that I periscoped about this yesterday, and I was talking to people about the challenge and saying, it's really important to love yourself. But it's really uncomfortable to do that. It's really uncomfortable to be nice to yourself sometimes when you've spent a lot of time not being nice to yourself. And more importantly, your kids need to see you doing that too. Because I read a book. I don't even remember where I read this. I've been reading too much. I can't remember. Somebody saying like the mom raised 4 kids and she was so nice and always complimenting them and boosting them up. And they all grew up to have really low self-esteem. And I was like, what? And it was because the mom, while she'd been praising them, had always been really hard on herself. She hated looking at herself in the mirror. She was just really mean to herself. So they grew up seeing like, well, okay, if mom doesn't like herself and I came from her, then how can I be any better, So I was like, oh my gosh, that is so important. So now I'm like trying really hard to let my kids hear and see me be nice to myself. And I'm hoping that I can make a better influence than that situation. So really cool. I think that is so powerful. And so everybody head over to the Small Seed Instagram, and the website, right, is where you can get like all of the challenges and everything. Cool.
Yep. And I love that you said that, because when you dive into the research about children and what influences them most, it is astounding at the relationship that we have with ourself, how that plays out in our children's lives. And it's a little bit scary as well, because you're like, wow, this is huge. And I don't think we talk about it at all. And it's just not it, like you said, the world and outside influences have changed our mindsets to think that loving ourselves is like conceited and, something that is so, awkward, whatever.
Yeah.
But so we're hoping to change that.
I think you will.
To change that.
If you guys if you're anything like me, you kind of consider like, even if we can reach one woman and we make one difference, then we've done our job. So
exactly
to reach thousands is more and more amazing. So I'm excited. I'm glad that we can get this out there to everybody. If you guys haven't checked it out, go love yourself. Choose to love yourself and go find out what the challenge is today. Okay, let's change gears a little bit.
Sure.
Let me just be honest here. I love social media. I love finding people. There's just like those certain friends that you saw every day in high school, and then it's not that you forget about them, but if you don't see them on a day-to-day basis and then you find them on social media, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about her.
Oh, sure.
That's kind of how it was when I found yours, when I saw you were on the Small Seed, because Lizzie was like, things are crazy. Talk to anybody on my team right now. Kim's great. Tiffany's great. So I was like, oh my gosh, Kim. I didn't even realize that you're part of the Small Seed, because even though I follow it, like I said, I'm not really like viewing stuff a lot.
Yes.
So anyway, when I found your own page and I came to your page, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I am so impressed with all the girls, all the people who I went to high school with that have gone on to do their own businesses, to start some kind of, independent thing. And you've done Lulu Books. So tell me about Lulu Books. I just was so impressed by that and so proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's another thing that was really hard to be like, I'm creating children's books, like me, like this little geek from like a farming town, like what? But I don't know. I felt really strongly that I needed more good resources for my kids. There are so many books, and we read. But I also love the quiet book idea, but I didn't have time to sit down and sew these books. I didn't have time to, and I had made one before, and you'd lose pieces, and then you had to recreate them, sew them, it was just like, okay, I have this quiet book that half the pieces are missing, half the buttons are falling off, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I'm like, okay, it was kind of one of those things. Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, here, I have this problem. How am I going to solve it? My kids love that we travel a lot. Living where we do, our doctors and everything are about an hour away, and Costco is like 45 minutes, so we travel a lot. And just hated always giving them iPads. Like I'm really kind of a stickler on screen time. Just
Yeah.
at BYU, I took a lot of child development courses, and my major was marriage, family, and human development. And so I took lots of parenting type, child development classes, and it's just so hard for me to, after what screen time can do for the mind and whatnot, it's just hard. And so I just felt like I needed more resources and things to do while we were traveling. And so I'm like, what if we like had these printable books where it just got my brain turning. And I have a cousin, Allie, and she is the most awesome illustrator. She's fantastic. At the time, she just barely graduated from BYU design, and she is just so fun. And I told her about this idea, and she's like, "We can totally do that. I can do that," because I am not good at the computer. I was not. So I was like, "How can I ever, like, I had this idea, and I would just kind of jot down probably for like 2 years, like, oh, wouldn't this be a cute page?" And in my mind, I was kind of thinking the old quiet book, that eventually someday I would put this quiet book together of all these skills that I wanted my kids to learn.
Yeah.
And but never really got around to doing it. But I had all these ideas. So I'm like, so when Allie, when I shared them with her, she's like, "We could totally do this. I know how to do it. I can draw them. I can put them in the computer. I can make them digital. I can." So she hand painted all these ideas.
Wow.
She watercolored them, and they're so beautiful.
They
it
are.
really is like an artwork, a book of art. And so, what Lulu Books is, it's a digital book that you can print out, or we can make them for you. But you cut out the pieces and you laminate them, and so they're all movable pieces. It's a very interactive book. And the great thing about it, and this was huge for me, was that I wanted them to learn lessons while they were doing these books. For example, so our first book, we launched in November, and it's called Healthy Habits Make Happy Kids, and it's all about eating healthy food, exercising, thinking positive things. And so it's these lessons that are really important that you can kind of dive into with your kids as they play with these books. And I'll give you an example. My little Kennedy is somewhat of a picky eater. She kind of has her favorites, things to eat. And I really kind of want her to broaden her horizons and try new things, new textures. But it's really hard for her. And so sometimes I'll just give her the Lulu book. And so on one of the pages, there's a page that is like this little plate, and it's empty. And then on the other side, there's tons of foods, and it's broken up into fruits and vegetables and proteins and drinks and treats. And so the kids are learning how to create a meal, a healthy meal. And so I'll give her the book, and I'll say, "Okay, you put on your plate whatever you want, and then we'll make that." And she'll get really creative, and then we'll get,
Cool.
The food and then she'll totally eat it. Whereas if I would have just put the plate in front of her, she'd have been like, broccoli, no. But she'll totally try it because she created it. And so anyways, that's what Lulu Books is. I hope I explained it
No,
right.
I love it.
That was all over the place.
No,
but,
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was great. Oh, I'm excited. That's really, really cool. Who doesn't want their kids to learn a little bit while they play too? I mean, I love it. That's a really good idea. So good for you. I'm glad that you found somebody who can make it happen instead of waiting until that perfect time, because it would never have come.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, when it launched is right when I found out that I was pregnant, and I had just had a few miscarriages, and it was just like so crazy for a little while. But it's now we've kind of gotten into the flow of it, and we're actually working on our second book. And so yeah, I hope to just keep creating, because as soon as, it's funny because especially in the airports when we're traveling, moms are just like flock to this book. Like, what is that? Like, and we kind of are on uncharted waters, because we had to really kind of figure this out, because there's not this product is not, it's not like this is a normal, everyday product. So I think taken people a little bit to kind of understand, oh, that's what this is. But once they have them in their hands and see the children interacting with them, I mean, honestly, Kennedy, we flew over Christmas. We went to Hawaii. She probably spent 2-3 hours just with this one book.
Wow.
And it's just incredible. I mean, she loves the getting dressed page because there's Lulu, and then Lulu is a little girl. She's this little blonde girl with red glasses, and she kind of is like my daughter Callie, who
So
has
cute.
glasses. And anyway, she inspired Lulu. And then there's Tommy, the little boy, and you dress them, and there's like, oh, there's spring and there's summer and there's winter clothes, and she could play forever. You know, it's just like these little paper dolls, but the pieces stick on with poster tack, so they're interchangeable, and it's just great. And on the side with the pieces, there's a spot for each piece. That was huge for me too, because I was like, I do not want to lose pieces. And so like every piece has a spot, and so the kids know when they're playing, like it's just natural for them to put it right back, because it's on the same page. It's not a pocket. They're not just shoveling things in. Like, they play with it and then they stick it right back on that side, right where it goes. And so it works out really nicely. And if you do lose pieces, you just print them off again. Like,
yeah, that's the coolest
on
part.
cardstock. So you don't have to sew anything.
Oh, I love it. So cool. Those strokes of genius that happen when you find a problem and you fix it. I love it. I love that you've created this. I need to get one for my kids. So cool. Good for you, Kim. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you so much. I hope, please let me know. All the feedback has been so wonderful, but it's from people that I know and love, and so I don't know if they'd really tell me like what but it's been fantastic. It's been so fun to see moms using it, and kids loving it, and so yeah,
really cool.
Really, really good.
Awesome. Okay, I forgot to ask you before we started recording, but are you a reader?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, tell me about what you're reading right now.
Okay. Well, I am kind of weird in that I have a few books going.
You're like the second or third person to say
usually.
that. Not weird.
Oh, well, good, because I don't know. I kind of have like a more like spiritual book, and then I have kind of a more mindful book, and then I usually have I just love, right now I'm learning well, anyway, so I'm reading The Gift of Imperfection, which I've actually I read a few years ago I listened to it on Audible, but I'm like, I want to actually have the book and read it so I can mark it and write in it, and so that's one. And then I'm also reading The Contrite Spirit by Bruce C. Hafen and Marie Hafen, which is so beautiful. I just barely started that on this trip, so I'm only about halfway through, but it's just
I love it. You are
really
totally a reader.
beautiful.
I started it on this trip, and I'm halfway done.
Those are my books that I'm reading
right
now, depending on my mood.
I get it. I have like right now I'm kind of in 3 different books, and I've just discovered Brené Brown. You're the third person I've had on here who's talked about Brené Brown.
Oh,
in her books. I'm like,
she's
where?
So good.
I honestly, this is so embarrassing and hard to admit, but I, until like 4 months ago, had never really read. I mean, I'd read some, but I had never gotten into or understood the appeal of nonfiction. I was just like, what is that? Like, you're reading biographies, you're reading like world history. I seriously didn't know what I was missing. And I thought self-help books were for weirdos. And like, I just had no idea. And this whole world's opened up. So many worlds have opened up in the last 4 months, which is how Marvelous Moms Club came to be, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a whole world I haven't been living in. So I love it. I love that you're reading 3, because I'm reading like an intense, super crazy business book, and then I'm starting Brené Brown, and yeah, I totally get it. Like, you just have to feed different parts of your soul at different parts of the day or the week or whatever. So those are great suggestions.
That's so funny. Because I'm the exact opposite. I am like, oh, Kim, you need to read a book, like a book about a beautiful story, or like something that is great, because I am so not that way. Like, but I need to like let my brain go to those places as well, because
No, you're not missing anything.
I'm so like
I promise they don't make you smarter.
I'm like, what am I learning from this book? How am I incorporating this into my life? Like
You're busy all the time with it.
intense. So,
Yeah.
so
No.
I need to probably learn how to do the opposite.
Stay where you're at. I think that intensity is important because look at all the cool things that you're doing with it. And if you're like weird like me and all you ever read is fiction stuff, then you're really not getting any. Maybe your vocabulary is expanding, but that's about it. Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing those books. And thank you for being here and sharing everything with us. I'm so excited for The Small Seed. I'm excited for your Life as a Farmer's Wife and Lulu books. And I'm going to link to everything in the show notes so everybody can go find all the information there is about everything that we've talked about today. And then I'm going to ask you the very last question. I hope you're prepared. What makes you a marvelous mom?
Oh, you told me to prepare that and I totally spaced it. So this is just off the top of my head. But truly, I think what makes me a marvelous mom, and I was talking to my husband about this on our way out here, was I've really learned to give myself grace. And that might sound weird, but I've learned to just to be okay with imperfections in myself and in my children, and learn that these are great tools and that these are things that are actually gifts. And I feel like that allows me to be a lot more loving and accepting and open, soft-hearted, peaceful. And I feel like I haven't honed that talent yet, but I'm working on it. And I feel like that is making my life marvelous for sure.
I love it.
So
that's a pretty good answer for getting to prepare. Good job.
Oh man.
And I love that.
I'm like shaky. These make me so nervous.
Oh my gosh. I feel bad. I don't want you to be nervous. This is seriously like I was nervous for my first interview because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never done this before. But now, I mean, I guess because I talk to people every day, I just feel like I'm getting to make all these amazing friends and rekindle friendships. So I'm not nervous at all. So I'm sorry that you're nervous.
No. Oh, well, that part of it, I'm not. It's so fun to talk and chat. I love this, but sometimes you want your words to be adequate for the feelings in your heart.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, oh, I'm just not good at that. But
no, that was so beautifully said, Kim. Honestly, I love that. And we can all do that. Like, give ourselves more grace. I love it. I mean, seriously, that might be the title of your episode. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for that.
Sweet.
Thank you again for being here. And everybody go check out everything that we talked about. I'm going to tell you like 400 more times, but seriously, go to The Small Seed, join the movement, and choose to love yourself. And thank you again, Kim, for being here and spending some time on your little vacation to chat with me.
Thank you so much.
And the rest of you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday. Oh, and Marvelous Moms, before you go, Kim wanted me to let you know that she's going to run a special sale for all of us Marvelous Moms Club mommies on her website, lulukidsbooks.com. So head over there and you can get a special price this week only until next Friday. So go and snag your Lulu books. I'm super excited to get mine. Have a great weekend, everybody.